Hello, Syngap.Land. My name is Michael Graglia. This is episode 156 of Syngap.10, the Syngap1 podcast. Today is Tuesday, December 17th, and you're probably going to be seeing this on Wednesday, December 18th. Let me start with where I left you, which was going into the conference. So coming out of the conference, Mike, how was the conference? How was AES? The conference was a resounding success. If you go ahead and look at the first link in the show notes, you can review the agenda to the conference and see what you missed if you weren't there. A lot of great content, all of it recorded. Special thanks to Alex Hall and Roy Morris and all our friends doing the video processing right now. We will get those up as soon as we can sometime in January. The thing I would point out, though, is not the content, but the feeling of the conference. I think for a variety of reasons, it was well planned, it was well run, it was in a great location. We did it in partnership with SLC 6A1 and GABA-A, so we had a lot of patient advocates there, and it just felt like it was our space. For all those reasons, and also the maturity and the strength of this community, it just felt great. Every family who came really felt like their cup had been filled, and there have been some lovely comments and testimonials made, and you can read those on Facebook in the group. I also share some links in the show notes from our colleagues, Richard Novak, Haley, a postdoc who came, from our friends at Citizen, from our friends at Beacon, from Praxis, from Stoke, from the team at Syngap1 Argentina. Like, it's just an amazing event. And I would urge you to register for Atlanta now, December 4th and 5th in Atlanta, Georgia. We're going to do it all again in a year. It's going to be great. And you can pre-register now, curesyngap1.org/pre25. curesyngap1.org/pre25. Get on the list now. Make sure that you are up to date when we open registration. Now, it's important to understand that the reason we bounce around LA, Atlanta, wherever we were last year, Orlando or Nashville or whatever it was, we do that because we follow AES around. So AES is like summer camp for neurologists, right? It's a huge conference. They all go. No, it was a terrible time to have a seizure during AES because they're all at AES. They're all at the meeting. But so they're all there. And what we do is we have the Syngap conference just the day before them, the day before AES. So a lot of the neurologists and global experts and people flying in from the other side of the country, the other side of the world, the Australians, the Europeans, they're all already in town. So they just have to come a day early, and then they can run into us and they can come to our conference. And that works out really well for us, and we're going to keep doing it. So AES starts really on the Friday. So we have the science day on the Thursday so the scientists and the clinicians can come, and then we have the family day on the Friday. Both of those days are getting so full that I think next year they're going to bleed into each other a little bit. But still, if you're a Syngap family, the Thursday and the Friday, block it out now. Now, that's the Syngap conference, which leads into AES, the American Epilepsy Society. And how is AES? Well, AES was really good. There is a pharma consultant, a really lovely Spanish lady who is an advisor to a number of companies and has also been very friendly to AES and actually very friendly to SRF, and did us the favor of managing a great panel on our meeting to wrap up our science day. And once we have that recording, I'm excited to share it with you. But I share, second link in the show notes, her reflections on AES, and it's going to take all my self-control not to read it to you because it's that good. But I urge you to go and read her thing and to read the 17, the 18, the 19, the 20, the 21, the 22, and the 23 recap. So every year she does a recap of AES, and she's done this since 2017, so since before SRF was even born, right? And then I'm going to give you the highlights of her very short but poignant blog this time. She had three main points. First point, the future is now, tangible progress in disease modification. Disease modification is a term you're going to hear, right? There is symptom management and disease modification. I gave a really compelling podcast about how Syngap is not a syndrome, it's a disease. Why is it a disease? Because we know the cause. What's the cause? Mutation in Syngap1 gene. We want to modify disease. I don't want Tony to stop seizing. I don't want Tony to be no longer cognitively impaired. I don't want Tony to start sleeping. I don't want Tony to be less aggressive. I want all of those things. And the way I'm going to get all those things is we're going to go to the root cause, the Syngap1 mutation, and we're going to modify the disease. And that's why this title is so exciting from Dr. Mignarance, tangible progress in disease modification, right? So, really exciting to see that Dravet is always first, They've dosed 5 patients with ETX-101, which is a gene therapy from, I think, Encoded Therapeutics. And we're starting to see really impressive results from phase 2 OLE data from Stoke for Dravet. Okay, so what's going on, Mike? So we've begun a trial with Encoded for gene therapy for Dravet. Very exciting. 5 humans dosed. And a lot of humans have been dosed in Stoke's ASO therapy. You've heard me talk about ASOs. It's a different, more titratable genetic therapy called an antisense oligo, or ASO. And what we're seeing there with the data on that drug, that ASO, is that not only did seizures go down, but over time, repeated dosing, 9 months in, 12 months in, other indicators got better. Better behavior, better cognition, better blah, 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 blah. Super exciting, right? That tells us disease modification is real. This is no longer theory. When I started this, I was like, one day we're going to... No. This is happening right now for Dravet, and our job is to catch up. And guess what? The company that put the needles in the spines for Dravet is Stoke Therapeutics. And guess what the next neurodevelopmental disease on their pipeline is? Right here, Syngap1. So really exciting, really exciting. Stoke has already figured out dosing. Stoke has figured out so many things. And just read Anna Mignorance's beautiful blog that goes over the incredible work that has been done that we are going to build on for SYNGAP kids. There is also a shout out in section 1 to SCN2A, which is really exciting. Praxis, who's also working on SYNGAP, by the way, has done an ASO for SCN2A. Capsida is about to do gene therapy for STXBP1. That's super exciting. It's not SYNGAP1, but the fact that somebody's looking at a neurodevelopmental disease that is right next to us is great. And then, and it even says in her blog that Camp4 Therapeutics seems to be looking very seriously at SYNGAP1. So we could be coming soon for an ASO. So if you're like, I still don't understand what an ASO is, Mike, you got to figure that out, right? We got to have a webinar with Catherine Heldy and Marta Dehia and Virginia, our leadership team, and really explain to people what an ASO is, because I am hopeful that in 1 or 2 years, probably 2, frankly, we could actually have the chance to put ASOs into our children. That's incredibly exciting. CDKL5 also gets a mention here, which is understandable because Dr. Mignorance works closely with that community. But then she ends section 1, this is 1 of 3, with a picture of Ben Prosser's slide where he's talking about his ASOs for Syngap and STX. So really, guys, we have every reason to be hopeful. We are now in the same league as Dravet, CDKL5, STXBP1, hands down. Last year, it was like, oh, it's very exciting. This year, it's like, wow, it's happening. And then beyond seizures and DEEs, section 2, Anna talks about Angelman syndrome and Rett syndrome and some of the therapies that are going on there, also Dravet. In all cases, we are seeing people look beyond seizures as an endpoint, right? So forever we've been hearing, oh, Syngap, seizures are hard to count. What are we going to count? Guess what? They're having the same problem in Angelman and Rett and other diseases. And now what you're seeing is all of us are working to convince the FDA to let us count something other than seizures. This will be a constant struggle. Seizures are always going to be the gold standard, but we are not alone in this fight anymore, right? It is definitely, you're running into people from Rett, from Angelman, from these other diseases. We're all having the same conversations. We're all working to identify non-seizure endpoints for studies. Please read Anna's thing here. It is amazing. She even gives a shout out to STAR and PROMISE. STAR is the STX natural history study and PROMISE is the SRF one. And then section 3, I love this title, Beyond the Largest DEEs. So in this point, Anna's saying, now after the big kids, let's talk about what's going on for everybody else. And that's amazing to me because we just got classified with the big kids. Woohoo! But she calls out the FDA phase 3 trial for bexicaserin, which is the trial from Longboard. I have told you about this trial before. I have suggested that anybody with countable motor seizures attempts to enroll in this. This is a global trial, so if you're watching from Australia, from Argentina, from Europe, from wherever, sign, and your child has countable motor seizures. That is not an eye flutter that you know is a seizure. That is a countable motor seizure. A tonic drop, a convulsive seizure, whatever you got. Try to go to the DEEP study, the Deep Ocean study, links in the show notes, and sign up for that trial. That is for all comers, right? So that's going to take all the different syndromes, including SYNGAP. We've got to make sure there's some SYNGAP patients in there, and it's a global trial. Similarly, Tevard gets shout out. Tevard is a company working on genetic therapies, but only specifically for nonsense with arginine and glycine. Good news, they're working on SYNGAP. That was a grant we gave them. So this was an incredibly exciting AES. I think the positive energy from AES and the positive energy from our meeting led to just an exceptional few days, and we have every reason to be excited. Look forward to read on this thing, and then watch our videos. So that's my opener. Sign up for our meeting. I include a quote in the show notes from Marianne Meskis, who was the founder of the Dravet Syndrome Foundation. She is just one of my heroes, and she says, when DSF was founded 15 years ago, it was hard to imagine how long it would take to reach the point of potentially life-changing treatments for Dravet syndrome. Treatments that would not only control seizures, but also address the numerous other health challenges associated with the disease. We are grateful for the many companies dedicated to improving the quality of life for those with Dravet syndrome, and we are particularly excited to see the promising results shared by Stoke Therapeutics at AES. From the boss herself, guys. I mean, this is real. This is happening. When Marianne Meskis is on the record saying we're particularly excited, that's a big deal. So I include a link to Stoke's investor page. You can watch their webcast about their presentation. You can look at their slides. When you're looking at their slides, just say, wow, what's that going to look like for SYNGAP? That's why we're doing all these studies. That's why we're doing all this work. Speaking of studies and trials, there are a lot of studies and trials, and I'm hearing from the SRF team, from Virginia and others, Mike, we have so many things. You're always telling people to do studies and trials. Which studies and trials should we do? Fair point. So in the show notes, I include a link to the priority tracker. And this lays out exactly what studies and trials are happening and exactly how I see them in priority order. Go ahead and take a look. We're hiding nothing here. This is going to change over time, but I'll tell you right now, there are two trials at the top, one for pregnenolone and one for the longboard DE deep ocean study. They're trials. They're at the very top. It's a chance for you to work with world-class clinicians and put therapies in your kid that may help them. The longboard deep ocean is for convulsive seizures. The pregnenolone is a neurosteroid for behavior. Anyone have a kid with bad behavior? Pretty exciting. Sign up for the pregnenolone study. I think it's an older cohort. I think it's teenagers and up. So that's for that. In addition to that, we have a Rochester's trial coming very soon. We're going to have a kickoff meeting with them soon. We're going to ask you guys to do a survey. That is number one on the priority list. Why is it number one? Because their publication is going to get a lot of eyeballs on it. And we need to make sure that we are well informing how people are thinking about SYNGAP. So buckle up. Wait for me to ask you to sign up for Rochester. Many of you have heard me say the Tom Frazier study is happening. 60 of you have signed up for that. That's great. I'd kind of like that number to be 200. Everybody can do the Frazier study. Syngap.Fund/I2, EYE2. Please do that. Dr. Connie Smith-Hicks is doing a sleep study. She's had 16 sign up out of target 35. Guys, we got to do this work. If you want to studies, we need endpoints and biomarkers. The way we get endpoints is we do these studies. We are lucky to have people like Dr. Frazier and Dr. Smith-Hicks working on us. There's also a study coming out of NYU that we have funded. I mentioned this. If your child has had a video EEG that captured seizures, that is the study I want you to do. And then also, you guys heard Jay speak at our conference about the DREAM study. We are ironing out one last IRB issue there, and then we're going to be giving people the chance to do a DREAM study at home, sponsored by industry. Why does sponsored by industry matter? Well, first of all, we didn't have to pay for it. Somebody else did. But second of all, if industry's paying for it, industry's going to be paying attention, and industry wouldn't be doing that if they weren't saying, wow, we need better tools for a trial. So that is living the dream. Last but not least, before the usual suspects of the natural history study, I think we have a couple of spots left at Cook Children's. You go in for a morning, you get a pretty large honorarium. I think it's a couple $100, and you have to do an EEG and a something else and a something else. So, but it's non-invasive, which means no one's going to get poked. But it's a chance to go to Cook Children's and to do a couple of exams, to get an honorarium, and to really inform SYNGAP science. Those are all the trials I really want you guys to take seriously. If you're in Texas, think about Cook. But wherever you are, Rochester and the eye tracker and the sleep study, huge. And then if you've got video EEGs, let us know. We want you to be included in that Davinsky trial. So that's what's going on the trial side, right? No rest for the wicked over here. On the Bones study, you guys remember we had a Bones article about Michael and his unfortunate injury from the bones weakened by some of his meds. Turns out we had a very similar story come out from Kelly McIntosh from what happened to Kyle. Links in the show notes under Bones. I put a link to Kelly's YouTube description of what her son went through. Please watch that. I'm not trying to scare you, but I am. Because, we have to be thoughtful when we're giving meds to these cute little babies. These cute little babies grow up into big dudes sometimes. And we got to make sure that they're strong. So, don't trust me. Trust Kelly. Go listen to that Bones article. The Coast to Coast Challenge. Let's talk about money. All this stuff takes money. The great work we do is not free. The Coast to Coast Challenge is at $208,000. If you have not raised or given, please do. I put a link there to my team, by the way. We need fundraisers. We need fundraisers all the time. This is a time of year you can ask your friends and your family. Say, my kids got Syngap. We really need your help and support. Please donate here. That's all you got to do, guys. Ashley and I were up for an hour last night just firing off those emails, asking friends to donate. And they're like, you're still at it, huh? I'm like, yeah, we're still at it. Kids here. Kids still sick. Let's go. So we are beating the street, and we are asking you to do the same thing. We all need to work together to raise some money. One of the things, by the way, I don't just want your money. I want your money and your time and your blood, just to be clear. For time, we have a lot of volunteers have given a lot of work, and I've given Stacy Miller a shout out. But I really want to say in this episode that Stacy Miller gets the shout out for the episode on her incredible work for the conference. So the conference has come and gone. It was very smooth. Stacy was not up there holding the mic. She was not like, hey, look at me. She was just in the back getting it done. She was really, really working hard to make sure this event went off without a hitch. She's already talking about next year. We're so grateful to Stacy. And I also want to shout out Laura Birmingham. Laura is not even a Syngap mom. She's an SLC 6A1 mom, but we did SLC 6A1 and Syngap together. And Laura was the powerhouse over at SLC, working with Stacy and Lauren. So I want to thank both of them for this incredible conference we had. It was so well run and such a success. And I don't think we can underestimate how much work those two did. Let me talk about, for just a second now, research update. I know this is a long episode, but this is pretty exciting, guys. You've heard me talk in the past few episodes about, how many papers are out, and we're all, 38, 39, 42, whatever. As of today, there are if you go to PubMed, which is this government-supported public listing of all the papers out there, there are 310 papers written about Syngap1 since 1998. 310 papers since 1998 when we found the gene. Right? We didn't find a patient until 2009. We found the gene in 1998. So let's look at all those papers for the past 27 years. 310. Roughly, call it 11 a year on average. But this year, 2024 so far, and I think this number will go up, call it a hunch, we have 54 papers on Syngap1. That is 16.7%. I looked it up. Percent of all the papers ever written have been written in the past 11 and a half months. Have been published in the past 11 and a half months. That's incredibly exciting. That tells you that we are looking at a hockey stick on Syngap research. More like a deep ladle, but whatever. And that is really, really tells you the power of this community and the work we're doing and the work we're funding. Now, two of the more recent papers are Dr. Willsey on her cilia work. This was a beautiful presentation given at the meeting. There's a lot of implications for it. We need to do a webinar of Dr. Willsey and her lab to really unpack these implications. But let me TLDR you, it's a whole other level of what Syngap affects in the body. And I think I'll give you one example. It really speaks to a lot of the respiratory issues we've been having because cilia affects how we move things through the body, fluids, etc. So all the mucus, all of that. This just points to one of those issues. So it's much bigger than lungs. I don't want to pigeonhole this paper because it opens a lot of doors. But the Willsey paper is in preprint. You can check it out. Links in the show notes. And also the Frazier, another Frazier paper on SYNGAP. We got to feed this guy data, guys. You give this guy a little bit of data, he just cranks out papers. And those papers inform if this tool will be used in trials, and the fact that we have SYNGAP data in there means that these tools could be used in trials for SYNGAP. And I cannot express clearly enough, obviously, because only 56 of you have signed up, that the Frazier tool couldn't be easier to use. You put a screen in front of a kid, you hit play on a video, the camera looks at the kid's eyes, that's it, you're done. 15 minutes later, we have all of this data, we can score the kid, and then we could do that again after a treatment or an intervention or a year or whatever, and see if the kid has gone up, down, or sideways. Very exciting work. Thank you, Dr. Frazier. All right, with that, I am at the end of my too long episode. I want to thank all the volunteers who have made 2024 such a success. I want to remind everybody to keep fundraising. We have 14 days left in this year. There's a lot of emails you can send in 14 days asking people to donate. Send them the link to the website, curesyngap.fund.org/donate, and ask people to support our very important work so we can continue this incredible momentum. If you are not a volunteer and you'd like to join the 100 families who are volunteers, please do. Links in the show notes. And of course, follow us on social. We have lots of followers in lots of places. We're about 1,250 YouTube, almost 4,000 LinkedIn. I would love to see us at 4,000 on LinkedIn. Make sure you're following us there. Make sure your family's following us there. Almost 12,000 on Twitter, Insta, TikTok, all the things. If you're newly diagnosed and this is your first episode, congratulations. You found a powerful community. Links in the show notes, Syngap.Fund/resources. Please go ahead and go there. We're here for you. Reach out to us. Let us help you. This is a podcast on Apple Podcasts and pretty much everywhere else you find pods. Please give us a 5-star rating. Help other families find us faster. That's how it's done, guys. I appreciate your time and attention. I'm grateful to everyone who's done so much for the conference, and I will look forward to seeing you in the new year if I don't get another one out this year. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, etc.